recorded to the cloud. So, hi everyone. So last week, August 4th through 7th, we had a team from the University of Scranton, from Case Western Reserve, and some volunteers head over to the K3LR Superstation in Western Pennsylvania, West Middlesex, Pennsylvania. And we installed a personal space weather station out there. And this has been the third or fourth in a series of installations that have been done by the university teams. We did one at the Jenny Jump Observatory in New Jersey. We've done one up at, I'm just gonna mute everyone for now. Okay. And we've done one up at another professor's house, Christine Zagzuski's house a couple weeks ago. Now we did one at K3LR. And each time we're doing this, we're learning a little bit more about, how these installations are supposed to work and what are some of the issues that are going on with them. And we are hoping that everything that we learn from this will eventually be able to put into documentation and get kits set up that we can send out to the people that are basically where we're going to mail them a personal space weather station. They'll install it themselves. But I think the trip went very well. We got there last Monday afternoon. We started with a nice breakfast. Let's see, I have some photos I think I can, yeah. We started with a nice breakfast. I'm so confused. We started with a nice dinner where the team met at the Avalon Buell Country Club. And then after that, we went back, basically just got settled in for the night. And then the real work began on Tuesday morning. And let me see if I can bring up the photos now. And let's see if these are in any sort of chronological order here. Right, so here we are at dinner. Here we are just at the K3LR, arriving at K3LR. And then that's right, Monday night, we did get into one of the houses, 57 Elliott Road. And this is the room where we installed the equipment. Monday night, we just got the computer things set up in this little room like that. We didn't actually have any real antennas running at that point. This room was just a temporary room. The equipment's eventually going to be moved into a little shed behind this house as soon as Tim is done putting in air conditioning and HVAC and things like that. But we got that set up for now. So in the Tuesday morning, we went outside. We surveyed where we were going to put the antennas. We were putting up one DX Engineering active vertical. We were installing one ground magnetometer. They were going over here. They went out, got the post hole digger in to put in the magnetometer. Here's Rachel working with Rebecca. Rachel, do you want to say anything about what you're doing there?
We were building an antenna.
Yep. Rachel and Rebecca are putting the antenna together for the active vertical. And so this is a little house where eventually the electronics are going to live permanently. We're laying out temporary coax and Cat6 to where the antennas are going. So this is where they are right now. The house where the electronics are staying temporarily is off to my right. Here's Nina and Owen working on the ground magnetometer. We were, here I am working on some of the connectors on the active vertical. We had some very nice barbecue dinners. This was donated by Gary, AFAA. He sponsored our dinner on Tuesday evening. And then after we got things installed up and running on Tuesday evening, so we got everything working. It's all working here. Then the students and Christina gave presentations about the analysis they've been doing with personal space weather station data so far. So Nina and Rebecca have been looking at data from the May 2024 Jennifer Gannon geomagnetic storm And so they gave a presentation in Tim's living room about that. And Christina talked about her open space initiative, where she's trying to do these 3D visualizations and simulations of data, including personal space weather station data. And Owen demonstrated his prototype of the DX and contesting dashboard that the FRC is funding him to do. And let's see if we can bring some of these things up. You can now get to, now this is a live demo part that's a little scary, but it's working. So if you go to k3lr.com:8888, you can now get to the web SDR that we installed. I can put that link in the chat here. Put the chat in. So you can now have a live link to what's going on at the K3LR station, both in terms of the web SDR. And if you go to k3lr.com:8889, you get to the contest DX dashboard, which right now, and what it does is it's basically going to show a map of current Whisper FT8 spots that are being heard by the K3LR station at that particular time. So I think this is showing the last 100 spots that it found. Owen's working on some updates where you can get this sort of functionality right now by going to whisper.rocks or whispernet.org or PSK reporter. But we are working with the FRC to actually come up with additional visualizations that help you to make real-time decisions about what bands you should be operating on during contests. So I spoke with Owen in the FRC a couple days ago, and I think Owen aims to have a first version of that deployed by CQ Worldwide RTTY this fall. So we're hoping to see that come out. Any questions so far? So we got on Wednesday morning, we got a really nice tour from Tim of the entire station, and it's just an absolute amazing place. The engineering that has gone into this to make sure that they can win the 6 major contests each year is just absolutely incredible. And one of the things that they do to help them in the contests is they really make sure that they have an RF clean environment on the HF bands. So things like switching power supplies, anything that makes noise in the HF band, it doesn't last long on the K3LR property. So they will hunt it down and replace it with some linear supply or figure out how to otherwise mitigate the noise. So that's part of the engineering that went into this. And that really benefits the personal space weather station, because right away, if you go to this spectrum, you can see that it's very clean right away with we had to do minimal mitigation of issues. And if you go to whisper.rocks, and if you go to top spotters, let's see how this goes. You can see right now that for the last 17 or for the last 24 hours, oops, K3LR is number 17 top spotter in the world. And all we did was put up a standard DX engineering active vertical in the back. We put on Paul Elliott's shelving in 30 megahertz low pass filter on there. And we also have a common mode choke on there. But aside from that, we didn't do any additional fancy mitigation. And right away, this station is number 17 in the world for top spotters. So that's, conversely, like we installed things that we have a similar setup at UACNJ, Jenny Jump, and even my house. I'm 33. So right away, that work that he did to do the noise mitigation, I think, was really paying off with this simple metric. We had another, then let's see, then Wednesday after, after Wednesday lunch, we had another barbecue where we had some local members of friends that Tim knows come. They came, some of the DX engineering people. Here's Dr. Juan Manfredi. He is the advisor to the Pitt Amateur Radio Club, and he's a math professor over at Pitt. We got a nice photo of the team, uh, some of the team who did the installation. There's Barney Scholl. I gave everyone a tour of what we installed. And then Tim let us actually into his station, and we got to spend the next 3 hours just operating 10, 15, 20, and 40 run stations. And we made about over 530 QSOs during that time. And Nina got her introduction to contesting, and she's now the W3USR contest chair for the year. So everyone says she did very, very well as a contest operator, learning from Katie Campbell. So that was really cool. Here's Owen and Declan operating, and it was just really great. I think the students really got a lot out of it. I think we got a really nice station, personal space weather station set up, and probably within the next couple of months, we're going to ask the Case Western team and Gary to help move the equipment from its temporary location into this permanent home, which is called the Mouse House. So that was our trip. And there's that Gary wrote up a nice story for HamSCI.org about it, and hopefully we'll have University of Scranton put out a nice story as well.
Okay.
Very cool.
Thank you.
I was watching all that go on, and I'm thinking, this is really good. This is the future, and I was just really excited to see all of those young, research-oriented people doing this and understanding what the value proposition of amateur radio is. And then on Monday and Tuesday, all these other people showed up at the meteor scatter thing who had never done WSJT or meteor scatter or anything like that before. And they're like, hey, this is cool. And suddenly all these people showed up on the air, and you've got all this activity going on. And there's nothing better. It's like, I think it was Wiley Post, might have been Will Rogers, who says the more something doesn't look like advertising, the better advertising it is. And there's nothing more exciting than seeing somebody in your peer group having a good time doing something interesting and useful and getting something out of it. And the more we can do these events, the better off we will be, whatever they are, and not so much lecturing from us old timers about how wonderful all this is. That you got to get out there and do it. Once you go out and try fishing, you know, it's a lot more obvious why fishing is a good thing, as opposed to being told that fishing is a good thing. So well done, Nathaniel. Keep it up. Let's have some more fun events like this. I guess we've got another meteor scatter thing coming up in November. So go for it.
Thank you. I totally agree. I think the more that we're able to do these hands-on sorts of things and, you know, actually get people in the field and get people, you know, doing, not just talking to each other, but doing things together, I think it's really a positive thing. And I can tell you, the students, when we showed up, when the van pulled into K3LR and they saw the antennas for the first time, they were like, oh my gosh, this is like, they could not believe what they saw. And then for them to actually be able to get to use the station and get to, you know, be on the other side of the pile up and be able to get coached by the operators that were there. I think it was like, it's I'm really hoping to get W3USR much more into contesting and operating. And I think doing this sort of thing was probably the best thing I could do to have that, because now I came back, both Owen and Owen, uh, Declan, and Nina, they were all very active in the Meteor Scatter QSO party. And Nina, I think, really was engaged by this whole thing, and she was very excited to help make contesting happen at W3USR. So very, very excited.
I was going to say, if you treat big contests as propagation experiments, we could probably do a lot with what I call contest within a contest, a CWAC, where you put an overlay on the contest to encourage people to log or contact as many different places, or maybe they do single band, and how long were you able to make contacts from your location. I mean, if you really want to learn propagation on an amateur band, do single band 48 hours, and you get to hear the world turn twice and see all of the different propagations that you get. But these, if you treat it as an experiment and you come at it that way, it's a different door to understanding propagation in the ionosphere in a competitive environment. So it's fun. But anyway, we can do that without creating a contest, without creating extra work for the sponsors, that kind of stuff.
I think that's really smart, and I think that's something I would really like to see happen, because I think the whole solar eclipse QSO party idea came up from understanding that hams liked operating these contests, and we can basically leverage what they already like to do for experiments. But you're right, organizing these things is a lot of work, and certainly our MSQP team will be able to say that, to try to get activity. So the more we can leverage kind of what people are already doing, and I think the contest within a contest idea, or an experiment within a contest, I think that's a great way to move forward with this.
Well, we can talk about that in a future meeting.
I like it.
Mm.
So maybe this is a good time to segue into the Meteor Scatter QSO party. I just did a lot of talking. I can still give a couple words about what happened at W3SR, but maybe I'd like to see if there's anyone else who'd like to talk a little bit about what happened with Meteor Scatter QSO party from their perspective. Ward, I know you were on, so why don't you kick this one off?
Okay. Well, let's see. I have a 6-meter beam up here, and I have a infed halfway for 10 meters, but it's mostly vertically polarized on 10 meters. Plus the current maximum is low to the ground. So I said, this isn't going to do. So luckily there was a ham fest that day. So I went out and got ham sticks for 10 meters and one of those dipole adapters for mobile whips, and made a 10-meter dipole and put it up under the 6-meter beam. So I had these two antennas to play with. And I would, every 20, 30 minutes or so, I would switch back and forth between the bands and call CQ, or look for somebody to come in and call CQ. There was a lot more activity on Monday morning than there was either in the afternoon or on Tuesday morning. That's meteor showers for you. You never really know. But get up before sunrise. I finally let the cat wake me up before sunrise and had the coffee going and sat there and watched the computer chew away. It was fun. It was kind of interesting because on Monday in particular, there was a mix of propagation. And so you got everything from tropo to e-skip to airplane scatter. I'm really close to the airport, so I get airplane scatter here, which is fun. And then there would be the occasional true burn, plus maybe some F2 with the flux at 150 at the right angle. You can skip a rock if you throw it just right. And it was really interesting just to look at the signature in the waterfall and the receiving windows, and you could tell which one it was, how long it lasted, what was the fading characteristics, all that kind of stuff. So it was a really neat window. My wife Ellen, who's also licensed, she was asking me, how can you tell what it is? And I said, because of the shape of how the signal comes in. So if we've got some recordings on that, I think it would be really useful to put together a web page with maybe some audio or just some images and say, what did you see during the meteor scatter? Was everything meteor scatter? No, there's these other things that are going on. And, um, put that out there. That would be a good QST or on the air article. And so maybe there's some benefit in that. But anyway, that was my uh, that was my meteor scatter adventure.
That is great, Ward. And I agree with all of that. So my experience at W3USR was similar. The first morning, I actually was able to get down to W3USR myself because my wife's parents were in town and they were able to watch the kids because my wife goes swimming each morning, and I was able to actually they were able to watch the kids. I was able to get down to the university at 4:30, 5 a.m. and I brought the Krispy Kreme donuts and the coffee, and we had Nina was there right at 5 a.m. along with me, and then we had a few other students come in, and Bob Nichols, one of our local volunteers, K1NLS, he was there as well. And yeah, we were operating on both 10 and 6 from there. And what was really nice is we had the HamSCI Zoom open throughout the morning, so that a number of people, it was just kind of like this. We were talking on Zoom while operating, and that was very helpful, especially as many of the people, a number of operators, including myself, were very new to meteor scatter.
I
So it
got
helped
to jump
us.
in here for a second. Right at sunrise, you get a lot of really interesting HF and low VHF propagation. Just as the sun hits those upper layers, you get some things that disappear as the morning progresses. And so being there at 5 o'clock or whatever is really good. It reminds me of the 1974 first 10-meter contest from Missouri. We got on at 5 o'clock and worked a whisper week, 5T5CJ in Mauritania, and then heard nothing for 2 hours. And that was it. It was just that little sunrise opening. And my mom always liked ham radio because it got me out of bed early and she didn't have to wake me up for high school. But back to you.
That's great. So yeah, so it went very well. And similar, the next morning I was not able to be at W3USR myself, but I was able to operate from home. So I got up early and the kids were still asleep, and then I started operating from here. And Nina was down at W3USR dutifully at 5 a.m. Operating, and then Anna came in shortly thereafter. So that was all good. So towards comment, if you look at the meteor scatter QSO party pages, we did give everyone instructions on how to save their wave files. And I have to talk to my student because it doesn't look like this has been posted yet. But I have a student, and the team is also supposed to create instructions on how to upload all of those wave files to Zenodo. So all of those wave files are that people have made during the MSQP are supposed to go up to Zenodo, and then everyone will have access to them. And then I'm teaching a digital signal processing class again this semester, and I have decided as of 2 days ago that their course project is going to somehow involve downloading all of those files, or many of them, and then figuring out how to apply various digital signal processing schemes to analyze those files to help answer questions like which propagation mode is it and things like that. Still have to iron out some of those details. We also do have a postdoc called Dr. Kuldeep Pandey. He's going to be analyzing some of this, and hopefully we can get some. I think Nina is probably going to make this into her senior physics thesis as well, and hopefully we can get some more people to be interested in just getting a hold of these wave files. So yeah, Mary Lou, you were on the 5 a.m. Calls, and you are also on the team, the MSQP Science and Planning team. So do you want to say some things about your comments on this event?
So I thought the Zoom call was very interesting, watching people react to various things that came across that were happening. Um, I would really like to see what the different shapes look like because it wasn't quite clear to me what exactly you were seeing at the time. But I think it's very exciting to use radio techniques to look at something astronomical. I thought it's really cool. So looking forward to doing some analysis.
I agree. Do you know anything about the current status of getting the instructions for the Zenodo up on the website? I don't think you would, but just okay.
Nope.
I didn't I wasn't sure because I know I missed one of the planning meetings while we were at K3LR. So I wasn't sure if you I'll work on following up on that. Yeah, so we'll make sure we get those wave files up there. So
Now,
I
how
think
many people were actually listening? I thought it went from something like 5 people to 50 people. I mean, suddenly a huge lot.
it's I don't really know, and I think this is maybe Bob, do you know? You raised your
Well,
hand.
well, I certainly didn't work everybody.
Uh-huh.
And with just limited hours and things, I made 33 contacts.
Yeah.
Not all of them were meteor scattered, as Ward was saying, that there was all kinds of propagation on. And
Yeah.
sometimes the band being open was to sporadic E was a real detriment to
Yeah.
because you hurt everybody. So
Yeah.
but
I totally agree with that. So I think two comments. One to Mary Lou's comments. What number of people? I think we have no idea.
yeah,
I think so. I think to follow up to that, I think what we need to do now is I need to send some messages out to the MSQP team, and I think Gary will probably be able to help with this. Get Gary and Declan to um, make sure we get the instructions on the website for how to upload to Zenodo. And then we need to, and then I think we have to do a real push over the next 2 weeks to encourage people to submit their logs and upload all the data. And I think if we can make a big effort to get that done over the next couple weeks, then we can look at, who submitted, and then we can have a better idea of what the actual situation was.
I was
Yeah,
can I
Bob.
impressed at the
pour any
number of,
words, please?
yeah, go ahead, Bob.
As somebody who is not exactly new to meteor scatter, I did my first meteor scatter contacts in 1957 after listening to Walt Bain's talk at the 1957 amateur convention in Chicago. But it was really, I gotta say, I haven't had an event like this in some time. It was really fun to be working meteors again after all these years. But one of the most interesting contacts and was a station in Peru. Now, just looking and listening to the signal, it was popping in and out.
Mm-hmm.
So I certainly a meteor scatter contact to Peru would have been unique. I think. I mean, but I think it was either a sporadic E opening to the Peruvian station, and then the meteors were coupling into that opening. Now maybe it was TE, but I think Peru might be too close to the equator for real transequatorial propagation. But I wondered if anybody else noticed that or worked it. I didn't make a contact with it. There was some others. I made a meteor scatter contact with a fellow in Vermont, which, that's got to be a meteor pretty much overhead. I used a 3-element tribander, fixed, pointed northwest. That's very convenient, of course. And it was, and I worked a lot of stations off the sides. I had 2 or 3 contacts with Bill Engelke,
Yeah,
which was
we had
fun.
some too.
And I heard Gary. No, Gary heard me. I never heard Gary.
I made
But he was
contact with you a
hearing
couple
me.
of times, Bob.
Pardon me?
I made contact with you a couple of times, but of course that was probably just a knife edge or something.
And I think this really speaks to, my experience was I saw very few contacts on our waterfall display or fast graph that looked like meteor scatter to me. And I think this really speaks to what Ward said, was there were a lot of different types of propagation going on. And I think to really get our heads wrapped around what actually happened, I think what we're going to have to do is we really have to get everyone to upload their WAV files. And then I think we have to systematically have a method of going through those WAV files, analyzing them, and giving us the picture that way. Because we're hearing a lot of anecdotal reports, but it's really tricky.
Yeah, I saw what Ward was mentioning too, including what looked to me like airplane scatter. But yeah, I left mine running the second night. So I didn't make a whole lot of contacts, but I have a whole lot of data to contribute. And
Well,
I
I
saw
think
stuff all the way over to the Mississippi about.
Yeah. So just to make a couple, we need to move on from this topic in a minute, because, or at least I will have to meet with Bob, and I can let everyone else keep talking about it.
We can do it later offline if you want.
Yeah, well, I'm busy later. I can make a breakout room and I can meet with you, and then people can keep talking about meteor scatter. But so a couple more announcements from me. I think so. We're planning on doing the meteor scatter QSO party again in December. I think we should we have all the rules posted for it already. I think we should pretty much leave the rules as they are for the December event, because they're already published, and it'll give us a second chance to kind of do it. But I think as we collect all of this data and we analyze it and we see how the December event goes, I'd like to repeat this event next year. And what's nice about the meteor showers is they happen on a yearly basis. But I think what we should do for next, after we get through the December meteor shower, as we look at some of this data, I think we really want to have a good discussion about, is the way we have the rules set for this meteor scatter QSO party, is it really working, helping us answer the science questions the way we want to? And are we being effective in our use of spectrum? Because we've got, if I heard lots of people calling CQ from New Jersey, and I felt like sometimes we were all just QRMing each other, and you couldn't really know what was meteor scatter and what wasn't. So I think if we revisit what our procedures are, we might be able to improve on this in the future. And Ward writes to check in with Frank W3LPL about a hybrid 6-meter propagation that includes 2 or more modes. That is a very good thing to note. Well, I think, and it's not uncommon for sporadic E out of North America to couple with trans-equatorial propagation across the geomagnetic equator into South America. Adding meteor scatter to the mix would be very interesting. It's a nice comment.
I have a comment about the QRMing each other. The instructions for using the TX-CQ window in MS were helpful, but it was not at all clear. It took me quite a while to figure out, oh, you put your transmit frequency there, not the one that you're listening on. And so I was splitting, and then I wasn't coming back. It was not at all quick. But if somebody wanted to write that up with a kind of a step-by-step and some screenshots, I think that would be really helpful. It's kind of hard enough to get a new mode. If you're not accustomed to using HamSCI-144, you're going to be pretty thoroughly confused by a couple of statements about use this window. So if somebody wants to write that up for November, I think that would be very helpful.
I agree.
How to set up your radio.
Yeah.
I fumbled around for a while.
Yeah.
Getting it.
Me too. Okay, I'm going to I have about 15 minutes before my next meeting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just stop the recording now. I'll leave this room on, but I will so I will create a breakout room. So Bob, I'll bring you over to the breakout room. We can talk about the plans for next week, and then everyone else here can keep talking about meteor scatter or whatever they want to talk about until 11 o'clock.
I'm not